will exist because just like sine, cosine's allowed to be anywhere between -1 and 1. So I'm looking at the back of my hand. Now cosine is the same thing as x over h. And remember, our h value is always 2. So I'm actually going to do some work on the 1. If I know 1 comes from a fraction and that fraction's got to have 2 in the denominator, I have to think about what goes on top that's equal to 2. Well, honestly, it's easy. It's 2. But as we count fingers, they always should have a square root. So what square root is the same thing as 2? Well, that's the square root of 4. So since x is on the bottom, I should count 4 fingers up to give me, let me erase this so you can see it easier, to give me the square root of 4 over 2, which would equal 1. I need to count 4 fingers. So I'm looking at the back of my hand. I'm counting my thumb because it's cosine. I count from the bottom. X is on the bottom. Thumb is 1 finger. Pointer is 2. Middle finger is 3. Ring finger is 4. Then I bend the pinky. I flip it over. And I say, what value is that? Well, it's the pinky. Remember, the pinky is always 0 or 2 pi. Now, if you remember from the first video, I said you think about which value gets you there quicker. Answer is 0. You start at 0. And the other thing we needed to talk about that I didn't hit too much, or I only saw in one video, is if it was positive or negative. Just think about it. X's are positive to the right, so that means this value is here. So the answer will be 0. That'll be the best value. If it were -1, it would have to be over here, and that location is pi. So the answer is in fact 0. And if it were in degrees, 0 radians is the same thing as 0 degrees. So no matter what mode we're in, I'm going to give you your answers today, so you can kind of get used to it. That's our answer. Again, 0 is quicker than 2 pi. 2 pi would mean a full circle. So that's why 0 is the correct choice. Now this one, find the exact value of arc cos. Now again, this just means cosine inverse -3 pi over 2. I will talk about the negative in a second. This means I got 3 fingers. So flip your hand over. It's inverse, so count from the bottom. Thumb, index, middle. That's 3 fingers. I bend the next one. So I'm looking at 3 fingers straight. The ring finger's bent. Flip my hand over. What location is that? Well, that is my pi over 6 value because it is my ring finger, which is the same thing as 30 degrees. Now, the thing is it's negative. So if it's negative, that means that cosine, since it's x, it's on the left. So you ask yourself, if it's on the left, which pi over 6 will be quicker, this one or the one over here? Which one's quicker? Well, we could go this way and this way, the same distance. If they're the same, you always go with the positive. So we're going to go with the positive value. We need the pi over 6 in the second quadrant. Now, and again, the way I knew these two were negative is I used the ASTC. You can use that and know that cosine is positive and positive, so it's negative and negative here. Or what I did is I just said x is negative to the left because this is the x-axis. So I knew it was one of these two. Now, which one's quicker? They're both the same, so you always go with the positive answer. Remember, the second quadrant is the -1 rule. So it goes no numerator, -1, +1, times 2, -1. So you take your denominator, and I'm going to subtract 1. 6 minus 1 is 5, so my answer should be 5 pi over 6. And instead of being 30 degrees, that 30 degrees represents the reference angle. So it is 180 minus 30. Let me go back over here to my pen. 180 minus 30 is 150 degrees. So that's how far you have to travel this way. So I'm going to change this to 150. These are the best answers here. Let's see the values. Yep, and in fact they did it just like we had, 5 pi over 6 or 150. Let's try this one, and again I can already stop because cosine's values have got to be, they have to be between -1 and 1. Remember, -1, cosine, and 1. Some of you are going, well, that says inverse. What that would mean is you'd switch either this value in or this value in. Cosine's got to be between those two values. This is not, it's outside. So this is undefined, it does not exist. And so I'll box that up. And you're ready to go try one yourself. And I'll put undefined here so you remember the word. It's undefined. Alright, so now you're ready to try one. What do you get? This value.